Whenever any math teacher introduces a new symbol, such as sigma, students try to do some interesting things with it. And I'm here to tell you that some of those things you're allowed to do, and many of them you're not. So let me clarify which shortcuts you are allowed to use. Specifically, you're allowed to use the distributive property, which says that if we have some sort of number times a sequence, we can factor that number out of all terms in the sequence and say that it's that number times this. Now note that I can't factor the a sub I out. I can only factor the c out because it's the same in all of the terms. A sub I is different in term 1, it's a sub 1, a sub 2, a sub 3, etc. So you can factor numbers not affected by the index of summation. You can factor those. It doesn't even have to be a number, it can be any factor. So if x is not what you're summing over, it's possible to factor out an x. And you can use the associative and commutative properties to say, well, if I have two sequences that are being added together before taking the sum, it's the same thing as reordering those things, taking the sum of the first sequence and the sum of the second sequence. That is okay. The one thing that's most common that people will do is they'll try to turn this into this, and you are not allowed to do so. You are not allowed to say that if you have two things that are multiplied together and then summed, you cannot switch that and then add them together and then multiply them. It's not allowed. We can use these to make some of our things go faster. So, for example, we can use that associative and commutative property to say that this is the same thing as k from 1 to 5 of 2k plus k from 1 to 5 of 1. And 2, we can factor this out and get that really this is just these sums. So because 2 is not affected by the index of summation, we can factor that out. We can separate it out because this is addition, and so is this sigma. And now, if we know our rule of the sum of the first 5 integers, that's 5 times 6 over 2. And the sum of the first 5 numbers that are 1 is 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, or 5. And now we get 30 plus 5 is 35. So this is one way that you can use these rules to make things cleaner. Now, if I give you this, most students will say, well, this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is a lot to go all the way up to 400. Isn't there a faster way? Well, yes, there is, but the faster way that you are not allowed to do, you may not say that, well, this is j times the sum from 1 to 20 of j. You also can't say that it's, say, the sum of j from 1 to 20 squared. You can't factor that out. It's tempting to do, but it's not the same. So please be aware that this you're going to have to do it the long way or find a real method. There is a formula for this, but you cannot just write it as this or as that. Thanks.